Hi, my name is Katrina Colley. This is my presentation for 3240. I chose to do the topic of best practices for using AR and VR in medical education. So brief overview, what is AR and VR, best practice and application of this tool, pros and cons, and then final reflection and takeaways. So imagine you're a student coming into a hospital and you are in an emergency trauma room. This is what you might see. High stakes, a little jarring, and tests of your confidence and knowledge. So what could we do to make this a little bit easier for students instead of being in a classroom and walking out to this? Is there something that we could find in the middle? And this is something that I think AR and VR would be great to do to help prepare students. So what is virtual and augmented reality, or AR and VR, and why should we care? So AR, there's quite a wordy explanation here, and feel free to read this. But in a little bit more simplistic terms, AR is technology that adds extra text, images, or graphics on top of what you see in the real world. So some examples of this would be Pokemon Go. You have your phone, you're moving it around, and you see these Pokemon that exist on your phone, but obviously don't exist in real life. Or you could see AR being utilized as a heads-up display in a car or potentially a helmet. So VR, again, another very lengthy definition. Please feel free to read. But as I said, in more simplistic terms, again, is where I like to stay, is that VR technology, such as headsets or special screens, it places you inside of a computer-made 3D world that's so convincing you actually may feel like you are there. So an example of this would be a virtual museum or travel tours. Headsets that you use for gaming, you might feel like there's actually zombies coming at you. So those types of things are what are VR, and are used, in entertainment purpose, but this could also be used in an educational purpose as well. So why is this beneficial in healthcare and training? So this gives a way to demonstrate complex topics in a different way. So in terms of anatomy, learning from a textbook, right? You're looking at these diagrams. However, if you're using AR for example, you're able to actually visualize a piece of anatomy and move it in 3D way, and that can just really enhance learners' understanding and just illuminate in a different way. This also helps personalize learning, giving learners the experience via simulation helps really solidify certain topics for them. It also simulates clinical learning in a very low-stakes environment. This basically allows learners to take the opportunity to try different things, to make mistakes that they may not feel comfortable with trying in a clinical environment, as there is zero impact or negative effect. So how can instructors use this tool? So I've broken this down into 4 sections in best practices and key application tips. So the first is plan. Focus on the learning goal. This is, I think, one of the most important things, is making sure that the learning goal and the learning outcome is where we start, and we see if this type of media can be integrated to enhance that. So we plan around the learning outcome. We don't plan around the usage of AR, VR. Also starting small, picking a small scene or activity to allow users to understand this, but also for us as instructors to get comfortable. The second is to prepare. So ensure that there's pre-debrief and debrief tasks, so that we can build upon different areas of learning, or also known as scaffolding. Checking accessibility, try to include inclusive design in terms of hearing or visual aids. Safety is key, so ensuring that you have a room that has enough room, if you're using simulation, for learners to walk around and they won't injure themselves. The third point is run. So how do we run this? So we're going to orientate our users to the headsets or whatever type of helmet, whatever it is for the AR or VR, ensuring that they understand the different components of how to use that so that they can fully immerse in the learning and not be focusing on each little button or volume, things like that. Keeping the sessions short and limited, and then also keeping hygiene in mind. So cleaning in between or using a little bouffant to make sure that we're not spreading infection. Follow up. So one important thing is to ask for student feedback. They're our biggest stakeholders in this, and this will really allow us to see what worked well and where opportunities for us to improve exist. Updating content and staying current with the advancement. This is a very new technology, so requires us to consistently keep up to date with the pace. And then sharing and documenting your findings with other departments or other institutions. This can help them see if this is a good fit to integrate this into their teaching. Some pros and cons. So pros, this is great for simulating and practicing high stakes situations in a safe and comfortable environment. This helps, it's very highly engaging for students with content. This also promotes a growth mindset. Mistakes are okay, and we can learn from them without dwelling on them and without having it impact anyone. This also helps prepare for the clinical environment and builds confidence. If that's not the first time you've walked into a trauma room, for example, before you showed up into clinical, you've seen this in a simulation, that helps make you feel a little bit more confident with what you're facing. The biggest con is that this is expensive. This is also not a replacement for clinical learning. You still need to go out and experience that. This also may not be suitable for all students to use. There are some barriers that exist. So students who are visually or auditorily impaired, or even students with certain medical conditions like epilepsy may not be able to use this. There's limited time and space for usage. And then this is also challenging for instructors to upkeep with the constant involvement of technology and learn how this technology works before implementing it. So, final takeaways. This is a tool that can be used to better prepare learners for any high stakes environment. There is upfront investment that instructors need to put in effort to understand and utilize the tool. Cost is a barrier. This might not be suitable for all students. It's highly engaging and it can increase the confidence of students for certain situations. This is great to practice high stakes scenarios in a low stake, safe environment and allow students to use self-assessment and reflection, aka assessment as learning. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and here are my references.